All right, today we're going to be analyzing Logan Paul's birth chart, looking at the astrology to see the path of his consciousness, the spiritual evolution of his soul that he's meant to undertake in this incarnation. Then we're going to look at the psychological blocks that are holding him back from moving along that path of evolving into the best version of himself. Finally, alchemy, which is a transformational process. I would recommend to him to heal and transform those psychological blocks into fuel for growth to become the best version of himself, internally and externally, right? Let's get started. So always when we look at the path of someone's consciousness, the spiritual evolution they're meant to undertake, you look at the south node, north node, Ketu Rahu axis. Here we have the south node in Taurus in the fourth house. Wherever Ketu is, we are most karmically comfortable. It's where in many past incarnations, Logan Paul spent a lot of time in, which is Taurus, fourth house things. So what does that mean? So when you have a person like Logan Paul that has Ketu in the fourth house, you have somebody that is very emotionally controlled and also very subjective in their perspective, meaning because Ketu, wherever it is, it makes us very pathologically rigid, also uptight. We want things to be perfect in the Ketu area of the chart. Because we have so much experience there, we have high expectations, right? If you do something a lot of times, eventually you expect perfection out of yourself because you have so much experience. The north node is where we cause the most chaos, make the most mistakes, fuck up the most because we have the least experience, right? It's wherever you try something new. When you first ride a bike, you're gonna fall, you're gonna scrape your knees, you expect to fail, you're not gonna really know what you're doing, you're gonna get in some accidents, you're gonna cause some problems. But if you've been riding bicycles for 20 years, you expect every single, the step, pedal, every single pedal to be on the money, to be perfect. And then you become, Lance Armstrong, take a bunch of drugs or whatever. So, in Taurus, so fourth house, home, emotions, also the mother and connections with other people, emotional connections, our private life, and Taurus, which is material comforts, sensuality, pleasures. So, funny enough, Logan Paul is a homebody at heart. He likes his private life. He likes a nice home. He likes nice things. He likes sensual pleasures and having a lot of resources and having a lot of things at his disposal that give him value, right? He likes things, nice things, which is Taurus, in his home, in his private life, in his little den. That's where he feels most comfortable. And so to step out of that comfort zone, he needs to go towards his Rahu, his north node in the 10th house, which he's actually done a decent job of. So when he brought his career into his home, daily vlogging, that was him stepping into his north node. He did a pretty decent job. Most people do not do such a good job of moving towards their north node so quickly. Now, as you recall though, there's a lot of controversy. He caused a lot of problems. So that's what I'm saying. Even if you move to your north node, even if you put in the effort to step into the 10th house for Logan Paul, what does that mean? That means public life, karmic duties, doing what needs to be done. He might not feel like it. He's used to doing things he feels like. When he was doing daily vlogs and a lot of his career early on, he was doing things because he had to do it. He wasn't relying on his emotions. Even when he didn't feel like it, he would do it. That's the 10th house. You do it because it's your karma, it's your duty, it's your obligation. You need it to manage your material life. But as you also saw with his public life, right? Because 10th house is the most visible house. It's the house of fame, status. Also got into a lot of controversies because he didn't really know how to manage his life. He didn't really know how to take actions in a regulated, level-headed way because he was still operating off of his emotions. He saw something, he felt like he wanted to do it, he would do it. Impulsive, unable to properly take action in a healthy way. Also in Scorpio, you have Rahu in Scorpio, you have somebody who's most likely going to be dealing with addiction issues, whether it be sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it may be. Scorpio is a very painful sign, and so that means he's moving towards becoming more emotionally resilient in this lifetime, becoming less attached to material security and sensuality, things in the outside, which is Venus, and more internal strength and resilience, which is Scorpio Mars. Scorpio signifies the won't power, the ability to inhibit yourself from overindulging in your desires or your cravings. That is what Logan Paul is learning. He's learning temperance, or I guess not penance, but not necessarily living an aesthetic lifestyle, but having a certain level of austerity, is the right word to use. A certain level of austerity and becoming emotionally secure in himself without needing the external things to regulate his emotions, and more specifically the material things, because that's what Taurus represents. Libra is more social, it represents people, it's a people sign. Where Taurus is, it's an animal, it's a biped, it's the bull. So it signifies that concrete material things you take care of over a long period of time, that's what he's used to being reliant on to feel good and secure. But now he needs to be able to step into his emotional security. And that's what happened. He had, a lot of his material security threatened because of all these controversies, and, his money was being played with because, he was going into forests where people were taking their own life, and then he was filming, a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff was going on with the Logan Paul person. So that's his path of his consciousness. But what is he supposed to do in this incarnation? Well, stopping him is what I meant to say. I meant to say what's stopping him. It's stopping him from moving towards the 10th house in Scorpio in a healthier way, right? Because he moved towards it, but he did it haphazardly. He did bull in a china shop, right? That's what happens when we step into the Rahu house. We're just so immature and inexperienced because of the lack of past life experience. So he's got to heal that subjectivity. He's got to learn to regulate himself and see the material world externally. So again, Ketu in 4th house, you have somebody who's very subjective, meaning the way that they feel is the way that everybody feels. They project their emotions, they project how they feel onto the external environment. If I think it's okay, it's okay. If I feel this way, this is right. The way that I see the world is right. The way that you see the world is wrong. Over-identification with our limited subjective experience. We are all limited in the way that we perceive the world. Nobody can have an objective perspective. We're all looking at, a statue from different perspectives. One person sees an ass, one person sees a leaf, other person sees the hands or the face. We're all looking at the same thing, but from different perspectives. But somebody with Ketu in the 4th house is like, that's a statue of a butt. Not realizing there's other whole aspects of the statue. People are like, no, I see a leaf. And they're like, how could you see a leaf? I see a butt. What are you talking about? Clearly, it's right there. He's like, no, I'm over here. I'm looking from a different point of view. Ketu 4th house has a hard time doing that. So Logan Paul will struggle with seeing things from another person's perspective. Some people would call it self-absorbed. You can have that when you have Ketu in the 4th house. Very caught up in their own emotions and their own subjective private world, thinking it's the objective reality. Unadaptable. Where do I see that? I see that with a sun-moon conjunction. Whatever planet the sun is with, because it's so bright, it's so hot, it agitates the planet it's with. There's also a level of sacrifice that needs to be done with that planet. Luckily, the sun is exalted, so the sacrifice is less. The worse dignity the sun is in. So if it's in Libra, the sacrifice is greatest. In Aries, the sacrifice is least. But there is an unadaptability because the sun is about what we do in this world, to be our true self, our authentic yes voice. It is our inspiration that we are consistent over time. It is the king. And so when you have the most adaptable planet, Moon, which is supposed to be fluid and flowing and moving and reacting to the environment and flowing through life, with the rigid, unapologetic, and uncompromising sun, you have somebody who has problems adapting. Problems, like I said, seeing outside of their own perspective because of the Ketu in the 4th house in Taurus, which is also an earth sign, so it's solid in that 4th house, but also somebody who believes this is the right way to do it, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to adapt otherwise because this is what I feel. This is my inspiration. This is who I am. And I'm not willing to adapt to accommodate my external environment, whether it's people, places, or things. Okay? But it is in Aries, so he's going to have a better time letting go of that. He doesn't have to sacrifice his adaptability, his moon, his emotional needs as much, but there is that level of, I'm going to do this because I'm inspired to do it, and fuck everything else because of that sun-moon conjunction. Finally, trust issues. That is seen with Chiron and Virgo. So when you have Chiron and Virgo, actually I can move all the way over here. Chiron and Virgo, but mostly in the 8th house. 8th house is the way other people value us. It's other people's resources, other people's support. It's also the sexual connection. 7th house is sex. 8th house, the gain of the 7th house, is the emotional connection, intimacy that we gain from that union with another person, which is the 7th house, partnerships. So he's going to have a difficult time really being intimate with another person, really opening up and being vulnerable and trusting another person. It's all about trusting other people is the 8th house. Also the occult, mysticism, inner demons, darkness, flaws. So he's having these deep wounds about his trust in another person because he feels flawed, because he feels inadequate, unable to fully trust himself to connect with another person because he's worried he's going to get hurt and he's worried he's not going to be able to handle it. So breakups probably were really, really difficult. Obviously, they're always difficult, but there's levels to this shit. And I have a feeling that for Logan Paul, a breakup was really difficult when he really opened himself up to somebody. And it was very difficult for him to do so, right? And so with Chiron too, it's in a spiritual wound. It's never going to go away. It's something we constantly have to work with. And we can find the greatest strength and beauty in the Chiron house. It's also in Virgo of practicality, planning. So he's probably somebody who doesn't, like to plan too much. He likes to go with the flow, just vibe, doesn't really want to worry about the details, but focusing on the details, really looking inside himself, trusting another person, being pragmatic in the way that he approaches other people and connects with other people in an intimate way, not just connecting like business or trade with the 7th house, but truly soul to soul union and doing it in a practical way, tangible way. It's what he needs to have his greatest gift, which Chiron can give. It's different for everyone though. So that's for him to find out. But how do we transform these? Transform, 1, plant medicines. Nothing expands your awareness faster, quicker. Got to be careful though. You don't want to overdo it, but plant medicines on occasion can be a beautiful thing. Something like ayahuasca, especially for him, since he's very masculine, Cody. He's very much in his warrior, strong muscles, perhaps steroids, who knows, energy. Mother ayahuasca can really break that down. I know he's done psychedelics before, I think LSD, shrooms, but it's also set in setting and intention, doing it in a healing space, doing it with a healing intention, not to go to a concert to like get totally blasted, dude. And like, oh my God, like we totally did all these shrooms. It was so freaking crazy. Like sitting in a circle with a practitioner or a guide or friends with the intention of healing whatever part of himself is holding on to that subjective point of view, to really expand his awareness and say, hey, other people think different things, and that's okay. And other people have valid perspectives. It's not always about how I feel. I can take other people's emotions into a consideration. Yoga, the mind is a reflection of the body is a reflection of the mind. When you loosen the body, when you're able to be flexible in the body, you're flexible in the mind, and vice versa. Yoga is a nice, tangible, practical way to loosen the tension, the rigidity, make yourself more fluid. Also, Tai Chi would be really good for him. Or anything where he's doing fluid movement, dancing, but just not being so stuck in one place, unadaptable. Like I said, though, it's not too much of a problem as it would be with most people because Aries is in, or because the sun is in Aries. Finally, trust issues. A monogamous relationship is a powerful thing. He's married, he's having a kid. That is a beautiful way to heal your trust issues, is to be committed to one person. Really, honestly, probably no other powerful way to do that, or nothing that's more powerful than that. But also making sure that within that union that he's in, being able to be emotionally vulnerable. If the couple's fine, they can continue doing their thing. I would guess, based off of the Chiron in the 8th house, that there is probably a lot of contention over the details, maybe the daily habits or things where he's maybe not cleaning up after himself enough, or he's not being as reliable or consistent with certain things. He's not really maintaining the material life in a fine-tuned way as much as she might want, kind of like an energy of, I want you to do the dishes, but I want you to want to do the dishes kind of energy, right? I want you to clean up after and make sure everything's clean. Oh, you forgot about this thing. She has an appointment. I have a doctor's appointment, like things like that. That's very Virgo. It's like planning day-to-day tasks, the small things. Logan Paul is all big ideas, big picture, doing it big, WWE, podcast fame, Prime, all that stuff. And I could imagine that being at home with his partner, they're bickering over the little things, the small stuff, which Virgo signifies. And also things being clean and pure and all that stuff. So being emotionally vulnerable with his significant other, and also learning to really focus on the small things and appreciating the small things and finding the beauty in the small things, which is something I'm also working on, right? Nobody's perfect. I have my own flaws. So do you, I'm assuming, unless you're a sage looking this or watching this, so fair enough. But we all have our own shit, is what I'm trying to say. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Would really appreciate a like and a subscribe if you wouldn't mind. Also would love to hear your opinions if you agree or disagree. Either way, love to interact with you in the comments. Cheers.